Some 2 hours after the start of the men's competition, 37 of the world's top female triathletes are ready to do their battle on exactly the same course. Tensions are high once again. The start is all important. Many of these performers have seen the problems that the men encountered on this slightly narrower start.
Well, you can see that it is the same for the women. They're no less aggressive than the men. They have to encounter the same problems, flailing elbows, a foot in the face, and trying to get at just that little bit ahead to get some clear water and to swim away from the pack.
The German women are renowned for their strong swim skill, so look out for Ute Muckel and Sabine Westhoff as the early leaders. Emma Carney, former world champion, this perhaps is her worst discipline, so she'll look to just stay up in the pace. But as you can see from the camera shot of the helicopter there, they're already starting to be strewn out, and as we focus in on the pictures, we wouldn't be surprised if that's the Germans, and indeed it is. Ute Muckel there getting off to a very fast start indeed, and already spreading the pack and looking very happy in the clear water. And you can see 37 of the top performers all clambering to get in the water. There's a lot of kicking and pushing going on. Often it's said that the women's start is more brutal than the men's, and again an important early start will be the confidence builder that many of these athletes are looking for. Into the first buoy now. And Ute leads as expected, the German swimmer that has had some exceptional results in both World Triathlon and Ironman competitions. And just behind her, well, a pack very closely bunched up, but it seems to be Sabine Westhoff has the better of these three, with Grace Deirdre also locked in battle there. An incredibly strong field.
Oh, it's going to be like another World Championship. We got a couple of faces that didn't show up to Worlds but are very strong, like Sabine Westhoff. And so it's definitely going to be another challenge. Some of the athletes are getting together to figure out what they want to do, where. And so it might be a little bit different. I'm not sure. I think as people ease into this drafting issue, we're going to get better and better at strategies.
At the end of lap one, Germany's Ute Muckel was dominating the swim, steadily increasing her lead over a group that included compatriot Sabine Westhoff. Gail Lawrence was back in the pack with race favourite Emma Carney and Jackie Gallagher. By lap two, another Australian, Rena Hill, had moved up to challenge the leaders. As we rejoin the race, Ute Muckel is heading for the end of the swim. The German comes out of the water and has had a blistering swim. Catherine, this is a very fast swim indeed.
That's an amazing performance from her. We have heard that she actually swam as fast as the men throughout the first half of the swim course.
Into the important transition now. Remember, in the men's competition, this is where many of them threw away their challenges, including Craig Walton from Australia. You need to be quick, but it's difficult to get the gear on with the wet conditions, and also, as you can see, the wind is still blowing very hard here in Ishigaki. Canada's Sharon Donnelly sprints for her bike, but we're still waiting for the big guns to come out of the water.
Rena Hill should be coming up soon, and Sabine Westhoff as well, and they certainly won't want to let Ute Muckel get too far away in the bike. She has a real pedigree in cycling. She was 15th in the World Championships last year, and is always one of the top performers in the Hawaiian Ironman.
There's a feeling of panic in the transition area. There's Emma Carney. She's really disappointed with her swim. It's all to go here. There's got to be some very special cycle performances if the German is to be stopped in the first women's competition. Gail Lawrence also. She's way down as Ute Muckel draws clear with a smile upon her face. She must be delighted, Catherine, with her first discipline.
Well, this is her first appearance in the World Cup, and I don't think she really knew how she would place with these other women who she's been reading about and seeing in the World Championships. And here she is, about a minute ahead of some of the top racers like Sabine Westhoff and Emma Carney.
Katie Webb puts her bib on and gets her bike prepared, but Ute Muckel is a long way clear now. The question is, can she hang on to this advantage with the pack bearing down on her? Ute Muckel's first appearance in a World Cup race had shaken up the established order, and now Emma Carney would have to claw back over a minute on the leaders. For most triathletes, this would be a gradual process over the 40-kilometre bike ride. For Carney, the sooner she gets to the front, the better. We pick up the action in lap 2 of 6, and they have drawn in Ute Mukkel. She's just ahead of Rena Hill. Teammate Sabine Westhoff is 10 seconds off the pace, and not too far behind is Emma Carney, the defending World Cup champion, 17 seconds behind the German. She's caught up 50 seconds so far, looking strong.
There's Sabine Westhoff, European champion 2 years ago, and she was one of the top World Cup racers in 1994. Unfortunately, early last season, she was hit by a car while out on a training ride and broke 3 vertebrae. So this is her first race back on the World Cup circuit for over a year.
Back with the leaders, and Ute Mukkel, isn't she making a sensational debut to the ITU World Cup Tour, and still looking strong. Some of the great names of the sport are tucked in right behind her. Emma Carney is close and part of a trio of Australians who will threaten Ute's dream start to the season. Here's Gail Lawrence, some 30 seconds off the pace. Just behind her is Sarah Harrow, it looks. Number 10 there for Harrow, off the saddle, digging in deep up the small hill. Just behind them is Jenny Rose, a former World Cup winner, as we take a helicopter look at the leaders and just how close the chase packs are pulling in. There is by no means a huge advantage for these 4 leading cyclists. The later runners are whittling down the margin with just about every kilometre cycled, out of the saddles once again, back towards the bridge. These are key moments in the competition, Catherine.
Well, we just saw from that overhead shot that Sabine Westhoff and Emma Carney are pulling up to that front group, and that really is a key moment when Emma Carney gets up to the lead pack. I think you can more or less hand the race to her if she's up there. Let's see if she can catch up to those 4 lead women.
Another chase pack headed by Katie Webb climbed the hill up to the bridge, but there it is. The story has unfolded and come true, and Sabine Westhoff and Emma Carney have joined the lead group, perhaps adding a little extra pressure to the rookie on the tour this year.
Well, it certainly does add a lot of pressure to the women like Ute and Sarah Harrow, because they know that if they want to have any chance of winning this race, they have to drop Emma Carney on the bike. And she has just made up 50 seconds in less than 10 minutes of cycling. So I think they're going to find it very hard to get away from Emma on the bike, let alone have any chance of running her down.
Now we see the tactical play, working with the drafting, choosing your moment to break away from the group. Perhaps the most experienced of the cyclists is Sabine Graf Westhoff and, of course, Emma Carney. They'll possibly work together to break up the group, but there's a lot of youngsters, newcomers to the tour in there, Catherine. Will they be familiar with this tactical play and the drafting?
Well, as far as I can see, there's 3 of them, half of the pack, who haven't actually taken part in a drafting race before. So they're not going to be very familiar with the rotation system that you usually employ when you're in a drafting race, which plays into the hands of very strong cyclists like Sabine Westhoff and Emma Carney, who may try and make a break for it.
Well, over the bridge, once again, going back into the Ishigaki town, and they are very closely bunched indeed. These are testing moments for the newcomers, particularly Ute Mukkel, who's done so well in her debut to the World Cup Tour. No question that she's going to be one of the top swimmers this year, but now how does the tactical play on the bike work for the German? It's all uncharted territory for Mukkel.
You can see Emma Carney leading the pack, having made up almost a minute from the end of the swim. She really could just sit back and ride with them, knowing that she can run away, but she's never one to just take a rest. She's off there at the front, and I'm certain she'll try and make a breakaway.
And there they are. Emma Carney picks up the pace now, looking to draw this leading pack out. And it looks like Rena Hill and Carmen Ochoa are proving to be the first 2 casualties of that tactical play by the Australian, really picking up the pace. We go back to the second group now, which is Jackie Gallagher some 20 seconds behind. Just behind them is Sarah Harrow and Gail Lawrence, 35 seconds off the lead group.
And there's Gail Lawrence, number 2. She's told us that she spent the winter training in Texas with a lot of cyclists, learning how to pack ride properly, and she actually came 4th in the Tour of Texas cycling race.
Back to the lead group. Ute Mukkel still has the lead, and they really have picked up the pace to a blistering speed. This really will be a test of the strength and the winter's preparation for this competition. Sabine Westhoff appears from the shadow of Ute Mukkel to go into first position, acknowledges her German compatriot, and the lead is hers.
Sabine Westhoff burst onto the World Cup scene in 1994 with victories in Switzerland and Canada. A strong swimmer and cyclist, she's another athlete making her way back after serious injury.
On a technical course such as this, it's much harder for weaker cyclists to stay in touch with the faster riders. The advantage they get from drafting or pack riding is minimized by the turns and climbs. Within one more lap, Carney, Muckel and Vesthoff had broken away to form a lead group of 3. We rejoin the race on lap 4. 3 riders now head the competition. Emma Carney and the 2 German girls. Sabine Vesthoff in first position there. Emma Carney is second and Ute Muckel is in third position. These are the 3 that will challenge for the top positions at the halfway point in the cycle competition.
These 3 really are the fastest cyclists in this race. As we've seen, they've broken away from the pack and have made up quite a distance going up the hill here. But among the 3, I'd have to place my bets on Emma Carney. She is by far the fastest runner of anybody, and it looks like she could, if she keeps up this pace, she'll have the race in her hands.
Emma Carney, perhaps one of the most experienced also. She's renowned for her calm, cool race head. Now with the 2 German girls, perhaps playing a tactical game together to oust the Australian. This will be an intriguing climax of the cycle competition. Let's move back down the field, 41 seconds behind. Gail Lawrence heads this pack, but also in this group, struggling a little, Rena Hill and Sarah Harrow off the pace of the leading trio.
Sarah Harrow, you can see, is number 10 there. She's another very strong cyclist. She won the bronze medal in the World Championships 2 years ago, and she's just been training in altitude in Boulder, Colorado, but she's not strong enough for these 3. Sabine and Ute are still in the lead with Emma Carney tacked onto them. It's become a real tactical race for Emma. We don't know if she's going to bother to make a break for it because her running is far superior to that of the other 2.
Group 3 includes Jenny Rose, 1 minute 30 seconds behind the front runners. She'll be lucky to finish in the top 10 with that kind of margin separating her from the leaders. And here's a good shot with Group 2 now coming into screen, and just before going out of screen, the leading trio. So the work also on for the group headed by Gail Lawrence here, wearing bib number 2.
Wearing big number 11 is Jackie Gallagher. We haven't really seen much of her up to this point, but she is well known for her running abilities. She ran down the field to become second in last year's World Championships. So she's another one to take note of in this race.
Back to the front runners, and the 2 Germans are still in the driving seat. Sabine Vesthoff leads from Ute Muckel there in second position, but almost toying with the European opposition is Emma Carney of Australia. She really has changed the face of this sport over the past 2 years, and for Emma Carney right now, there's no looking back.
Well, triathlon's a weird sport. It's a 2-hour race, but you find yourself sprinting absolutely flat out from the gun. It teaches you a lot about yourself. You've got to get in there and race from the start. Triathlon, I would have to say, is probably one of the most exciting sports in the world at the moment. You're on the edge the whole time. You're pretty much pushing flat out. If you've had a good, tough race, there's nothing better than just going back to your room and you're absolutely finished. It's great.
The last few moments of the cycle competition, Sabine Vesthoff leads for Germany. Ute Muckel is second, and Emma Carney, the defending World Cup champion with 5 wins to her name last season, races into the transition area. This is where experience will possibly pay dividends, but of course Emma Carney, a former international athlete, will draw upon those skills to claim the first World Cup of the '96 season.
Emma really is a first-rate runner. She's practiced these transition techniques time and again, so you'll see her just bursting out of the transition area. There she goes with the 2 Germans in her wake.
And Emma Carney, the star from Australia, has blown away the German opposition and really goes out of the transition area with a psychological advantage. Sabine Vesthoff and Ute Muckel trying in vain to keep up with Carney, who has gone 20 meters ahead early on in this 10-kilometer run.
As you can see, Emma's built up a comfortable lead already over the 2 Germans, but she probably feels that she has to open up as big a gap as possible. She was injured a few months back. She fell off and broke her collarbone while she was out on a training ride, and she knows that there are some strong runners back there, mostly her 2 compatriots, Rena Hill and Jackie Gallagher.
They've been going at 100% for about an hour and a half, and there's no question that Emma Carney will maintain that incredible performance rate right to the end of this competition. She's not prepared to settle for an easy coast home. She's continuing to up the pace through every part of this 10-kilometre course. This is a world-class performance, and the two German girls there, Ute Muckel on the left in the green, and Sabine Westhoff can only watch in vain, perhaps in pain, as Emma Carney, the World Cup champion of 95, gets the perfect start to 96. Gail Lawrence and her group finally make the transition area. They're looking for the minor places now. A little bumping and shoving going on, but there's no question that Emma Carney is at her best once again, and very early on in the season is still driving ahead.
The one woman in that chase pack who could actually threaten Emma Carney has to be Jackie Gallagher. There she is with number 11. She actually beat Emma twice over the Australian summer season, and she's a fine runner. She has a distance to catch up, but there is a chance she could reel in Emma Carney.
And that factor could play as Emma Carney looks strong, but as we change pictures shortly to the two German girls, Sabine Westhoff and Ute Muckel, who are looking considerably tired. Ute Muckel, who gave us such a blistering pace in the swim, must be feeling that now, as Emma Carney once again has timed her challenge to perfection. Perhaps she's thinking of Jackie Gallagher and fellow Australian teammate Rena Hill, as the German girls battle in vain, just in a blur behind Emma Carney. There Sabine Westhoff has drawn clear of Ute Muckel. Back to the transition area, and Jenny Rose now finally disposes of her bike, puts the running shoes on for a 10-kilometre run to bring her competition to a close, but Carney is dominating in the lead. So Emma Carney's dynamic start to the run had changed the nature of the race. Having left the rest behind in the second transition, she was now going further and further away from Westhoff and Muckel. By the end of lap 2, it was World Championship silver medalist Jackie Gallagher who moved up into second place. 30 seconds further back, Rena Hill, yet another Australian, was also moving into contention for a place in the top 3. Carney weaves her way through a few lapped runners. The last 500 metres, this can only be described as an emphatic victory for the defending World Cup champion. Timing her run with absolute perfection. Not the easiest of swims for the Australian, but a tremendous performance on the bike. And this, the international athlete, dominating from start to finish. Emma Carney takes round 1. It's her 6th successive World Cup victory and will be the runner to be feared of this season. Jackie Gallagher bravely coming into second position, but Catherine, this is one of the toughest performers on the tour.
Well, I'm almost glad that Emma wasn't around when I was racing as a pro. She's really, as you said, she's changed the nature of women's triathlon. She's brought a new toughness to it, and she's just amazing.
Rena Hill also going into third position, make it an Aussie clean sweep, but Emma Carney is cheered and applauded by just about every member of the Japanese crowd. They've warmed to the performances here, and Emma Carney has set a blistering pace in round 1 of the tour. The question, Catherine, will she be stopped in rounds 2, 3, 4 and throughout the season?
Well, I'm sure she'll win many more races this season, and what a brilliant way to start off the circuit this year. She's obviously not one for self-doubt, but this will be a real confidence builder after the disappointment of the World Championships in Mexico last year.
Round 1 of 10 goes the defending World Cup champion, Emma Carney. Coming home in second also for Australia, Jackie Gallagher. What a fantastic run she has had, and perhaps with a stronger performance in the swim and bike will be another contender and major challenger to Emma Carney in round 2 of the tour. We go down to trackside to hear Emma Carney's view of today's race.
I had a big knot in my stomach after the World Championships last year. I mean, finished second, finished 7th after such a good start to the season, and I just had to come out here and win today. You never know how everyone's going at the start of the season. I didn't know if Sabine had been working on a run. Traditionally, she's a strong swimmer. Both of them are, and bike riders, so I was fairly confident, but you don't know until you cross that finish line.
4 minutes and 17 seconds off Emma Carney was the third place Aussie Rena Hill, making it a clean sweep for the triathletes from down under. Battling it out in the closing stages, the newcomer Ute Muckel was to hold on to 4th position. What a fantastic start to her season, with Susanne Nielsen of Denmark coming in 5th and making it a trio of Europeans behind the Australians. A very tired Sabine Graf Westhoff was to finish in 6th position.
It was a tough race, and I think it was good that it was a tough race. You know, it really kind of sorted everybody out. It wasn't just we all sit there and wait for the run. It was, you know, it was a real workers' race, and that was good.
Australia 1, 2 and 3 with Emma Carney, Jackie Gallagher and Rena Hill in top positions. A great debut for Ute Muckel of Germany in 4th position and Susanna Nelson of Denmark claiming 5th spot. Two great races here in Ishigaki and another dominant set of performances from the Australian athletes. Miles Stewart, though, won't be heading off to the next race. His broken toe threatens to sideline him for at least 3 weeks. Meanwhile, the ITU Tour Triathlon season and a victory for the Australians in Ishigaki. Miles Stewart held off the challenge of the new Brazilian star Alexandra Manzan. But it's in the women's race that the triathlon's new world order was most clearly demonstrated. A clean sweep of the first 3 places led by Emma Carney, staking her claim as the world's best all-round female athlete.
Triathlon, I would have to say, is probably one of the most exciting